I'm Rich Clark. I'm a member of the Dance Palace's art committee. We've been promoting art within the West Marin community for a number of years. And up until recently, we had gallery shows at the Dance Palace. But due to the COVID, we ended up having to shut that down. And pardon me. And what the art committee came up with was an idea to create a virtual gallery and have virtual receptions. And you are a part of it. And you're one of a number of people that have been a part of it over the course of these 10 months. We're excited about it. We're really happy that it's been working. And in this case, I'm really happy that I got to spend time with Susan Brayton in the development of what we're going to do today. I want to just speak for a second about the Dance Palace and the value of the Dance Palace to the community, and what's been lost over this last year as a result of COVID. Historically, we've got classes, we've got wedding, it gets rented out for renting for weddings. We have wonderful cultural events with music and plays, senior lunches, yoga, Pilates, Tai Chi, early childhood programs for kids. It's just a potpourri of community support, and sadly we had to shut it down. So I want to just comment that this effort has been one to keep artists in the public eye, keep artists alive in our vision and memories during this COVID time. And I also want to mention that because all those classes and the different kinds of rentals and stuff that have disappeared, we lost a lot of revenue. And I think as you, hopefully as you get excited and about Susan and realize how wonderful it is to be able to have an artist share their story, if you feel motivated, please donate to us. We really would appreciate your support, and it helps keep us going. So that's the story about the Dance Palace. Now for a story about Susan. Susan is a painter and an artist. Her medium is acrylic and collage, watercolor, paper, and canvas. But one of the other things that is remarkable in a way, in terms of the artists that we've seen so far, she calls herself a groupie artist. She really values the group, the sangha of other artists, and coming together and doing art together, and the repartee and the criticism and the support that's there. And it was kind of a unique point of view that was wonderful to hear, particularly with her excitement about it. Historically, she was born before World War II and was in the north of England during the war. And the war influenced her, and then she'll probably refer to some of it in her paintings, but it's one of the big impacts that helped shape her point of view of life in the world, and it shows up in her painting. She had some interesting schooling experiences that shaped her art. The first art teacher that she had as a child encouraged her kind of abstract expression. She valued it. She didn't expect Susan to be a figurative artist. She could express herself with the unknown, and she was so successful at doing that, and her art teacher was so moved by what she did the teacher submitted some of Susan's works to the Royal Academy, and she got recognition as a child from the Royal Academy of Art. Then there's the other teacher, and that was the teacher in a school when they moved from the north to the south of England, and she was shocked to discover that her abstract art was absolutely unappreciated, and in fact was used by the teacher to demonstrate to the class what art is not. And so there she was with this Royal Academy award in one school and in her life already, and was suddenly put down for the kind of expression and competence that she had, and made an example of. So that dampened her engagement in the arts for some significantly. She left England in her 20s and ended up in New York, and then migrated to the West Coast and ended up in San Francisco, where she was heavily influenced by a job that she had at the Center of Humanistic Psychology. And this will play out as we get to see her work, and she talks more about it. But that humanistic psych exposure and the human potential movement at the time, through these years, she continued to, she said, play around with paints until she found in the 80s an art teacher, Connie Smith Siegel, who turned out to be an incredible match to the humanistic psych exposure that was exploring the unconscious and spirituality and the soul. And Connie provided a way for her, for Susan, to see via becoming aware of sensation, feeling, intuition, meditation, and detaching from the left brain's critical eyes as she painted. And that just opened her up. And I had the privilege of being exposed to it too, in a micro sense. She introduced me to this method that is a sensory awareness method that that allows a person to detach from the critical brain, the critical left linear brain. And she had me start out with my eyes closed and go into a meditative state while drawing. And what showed up was a complete surprise. And then she led me to a palette of color, sort of like paint chips, to sort out colors that I might want to use that represented the emotion that I felt when I looked at my drawing, and the kind of expression I might want to use with the pastels that she had available for me to use. And we did this 3 times, and it was truly, I was going to say, an eye-opening experience, but it was more of a heart-opening experience. So with that in mind, I could get excited about all the things that I learned from Susan. I'm going to turn it over to Susan, who I think is ready to carry us on into the world of sensory art.
Thank you, Rich, for your introduction. And I'm so happy to see all these faces here today. And so many of my different groups are here as well. As you know, I have my sensing drawing group. We've been meeting since the 1980s on a regular basis. And my wonderful Wild Carrots friends too. And I've been with Wild Carrots for 20 years. So I'm just very honored that some of them are here today to watch this video, and I appreciate everybody for being here. Thank you so much. Several of the people in my group were on the call today. And that was 1980s, and moving forward to today, 4 of us from that group are still meeting regularly and doing art together and drawing process. And we've saved thousands of dollars in psychology fees by working out our lives by doing art. And I tell you, it's possible. So the other part of the whole Connie Smith Siegel time, and actually I'm really sort of thinking about her a lot right now because it's nearly a year now since she died. And she was such a huge influence on our lives, and I'm so appreciative of her contribution to my life, because as Rich said, I had a really hard time in the last school I was in. It was very, very strict and very just squashing any creativity that I might have revealed. And it was disheartening and terrible, and I was really glad to get away from it. But fortunately, I found my way again when I moved out to West Marin in the 80s and with her. And so we can show, I think, Laurel Ann, we can show the color pile. Oh, the color pile. And then, sorry, and also the Spirit of Color, which is Connie's book, and Spirit of Drawing, also her book. The Spirit of Color, I believe, is available in Gallery Route 1. And I highly recommend, if you want to start drawing and painting, that you use these as your Bibles, because it's such a loose and wonderful way to learn to do art. And then the color pile, which we can show again, is where we dive into pick the colors that speak to us at the moment in time. And we also do it in terms of our drawings. Once we've done a drawing, we pick colors afterwards, and it reveals so much more of what we're saying in the drawing for ourselves and for us to interpret. And moving on now to this is sort of a very simple explanation of colors. On the upper left is fire, on the right is water, and on the lower left is air, and on the bottom right is earth. So these are the colors that most of us would find eventually that we would be drawn to one of these elements. And for me personally, I'm drawn towards fire and earth. Water and air also play a part, but it's in my work, generally, those are the colors that I use to interpret what I'm doing, what I'm feeling, and what I'm saying. So it's an interesting process to do this. We can also interpret these colors in terms of emotions. And so you can just think to yourself, what does fire mean emotionally? What does water mean emotionally? And what does air and earth mean emotionally to you? And earth, for me, is very important in terms of grounding and being thoroughly aware of the nature that surrounds me and how that can feed us and nurture us. And so then moving on to the next stage of my art career, several years later, and for over 20 years now, I have been part of another group, which is Tony Littlejohn's Wild Carrots group. And wow, was that a revelation? It just pointed me in the direction of complete personal freedom in doing art, in terms of stacks of materials to choose from, several hours on a Tuesday. I'm with the Tuesday group, and we're still meeting regularly on Zoom, and hopefully we'll get back together again in the fall. And my dog goes too, as you can see. And there are several people from that group who are on this call today too. So it's really wonderful to have this connection again on a very deeply personal level, sharing our art together and sharing our lives together. And one thing I always think about with these groups is that we learn more about each other through our art than we would if we were sitting down and having a conversation around a dinner table. And it reveals a lot more of our inner depths and gives us a really strong bond, which is kind of lifelong and will always be there. So moving from that, moving into the art world now, is I'm going to take a breath for a minute because I'm feeling a little breathless. So I'm just going to take a little drink of water. Hold on. So this is, the title of this piece is Cry for Freedom. And I started it without thinking very much about what I was going to do. And this revealed itself, and everything was kind of squashed in, and then these faces appeared. And I realized that a large part of my life I had spent feeling very restrained and very boxed in. But part of it being boxed into my Britishness and the way you're supposed to behave at the generation that I am of being when you're British, and the other part being the whole boarding school experience, which was absolutely terrible. And feeling as if I'd been thwarted. And then this is when later, when I started adding more color and adding more shapes to it, I realized how strong the personal and the political are intertwined. And in this case, it felt like the cry for freedom wasn't just a cry for freedom for me, but it's the cry for freedom for something greater and bigger than I am. And it's for a lot of people in the world, and it continues now with Black Lives Matter. This seems really appropriate for that. This whole period of this whole, well, enslavement. Just anyway, you can get the gist of what I'm trying to say, because I'm not saying it very well right now, but it was really a revelation for me how strong the personal and the political are intertwined. We can go on to the next one. That's me. And so then we had the Trump time. So I, like many, many other people, went into a very deep depression when Trump was elected president. And this particular piece started because of loving the green so much. And this is a collage with paint on top. And I just, I didn't know where to put my no against him. And this is the no for Trump's horrible discourse for all those years, which still continues and still is emulated by his supporters. And it was mainly to do with what will happen to the environment with this man as president, and what did happen, and then particularly how his policies on climate change were espoused by him and his supporters. And so that was kind of like a protest piece against Trump, but showing the beauty of the planet that we live in and wanting that to be protected, and revealing my angst about it. Next one. And so then, I hope people aren't getting too depressed. I was so struck by that campfire and then the Santa Rosa fires, and this piece came about because of every image we see, and this is also true for around the world. I mean, if you look at Afghanistan right now, or you look at, just around the world, this is what you see. You see this devastation. We've seen it in Florida this last couple of weeks. You just see everything in collapse, and the aerial view of just this gray and destroyed landscapes. So that really sort of just emerged, and it was done very fast, and that's what happened. I've got, the materials when you were in Tony's group are boundless, and so it's got corrugated paper in there, and it's got I don't think I have roofing compound in there, but I am very, very fond of roofing compound, but I don't think it's in this one. So, but it also reveals just the devastation that I felt inside myself because of the suffering that was going on when people losing their lives, losing their homes. And so if on a humorous note, if you look at on Google at the images of Jackson Pollock's work, you'll see that he's done a lot like this. So this one for the Dance Palace would be worth around $3 million if anybody wants to bid on it. And I think the Dance Palace could really do a lot with that money. So we can go on to the next one. And so this was COVID time, and this was at the beginning of COVID, and people were started talking about the light at the end of the tunnel. And so this is what that's about. It's kind of ominous in the background, and it's contemplative, and this is soft pastel. So it's a really different medium to use from the others. And I'm actually tending to use that more and more now. But this was just this hope for this light. And we still are in the midst of it. And we still have that hope that this will end. And we can see that, certainly here in Marin County, there's been progress, but the rest of the country, the rest of the world it's not happening. So not to depress you any further, let's go on to the next one. And this is kind of humorous, actually. It has to do with the virus, but on April the 24th, 2020, I had to go to Kaiser, and when you went to Kaiser at that point, you had your temperature taken, and you did the hand sanitizer and all of that, and then you got stuck with a sticker which said, which indicated no virus on April the 24th, 2020, when my temperature was taken and it was normal. And it was also at the same time that Trump said that we could take bleach. So I poured white paint on top of my images of the virus, and that was my little protest against Trump again. So we can move on to the next one. And then the other part of the whole virus situation, and just in general, the world, what I call world grief, this is depicting compassion. And it's also working on compassion for the self and working for compassion for the world. And we can move on to the next one. And then this one is more close to home. This one, the title of this one is Homeward Bound, not Homeward Bound, it's The Road Homeward. And it's all paint, there's no collage. And I really liked the colors, the way they sat together. And I realized that I'd drawn a house. And houses, and my mother always said to me when I was really small, because we lived in a hotel, she said, whenever I drew anything, I drew a house. And she knew that someday I wanted for us to live in a house. And so there the house revealed itself again. So somewhere in my psyche, it was waiting to come out again. But the home now is here in Inverness, California. And that is gold paint on it, which you can't really see on this image because of you can't see textures. That's one thing that doesn't really work with showing your work online like this, is there's a lot of texture in a lot of these pieces. So the gold is the coming home to Inverness. And those times of year when you're driving over the hill and you can't see because the sun is so bright in your eyes, but you're going westwards. And we're coming home after a day over the hill at the doctor's, or maybe met somebody for lunch, or maybe had to do a whole bunch of shopping. And we're driving homeward to West Marin. And with that point, when we come over the hill, there's always a point where you go, I'm home, I'm home. And so this one indicates that. It also speaks very strongly about my devotion for many years to affordable housing in this community, and my affiliation and work with CLAM, Community Land Trust Association of West Marin. And it also points in the direction of this weekend. If you've got nothing to do on Sunday evening, we're having a big community gathering and neighborhood design meeting on the Coast Guard property. For the first time some of us have seen ourselves in over a year, or each other in over a year. And I'm hoping that people can come to that too, because we're moving really at fast pace with CLAM at this point to convert this development into 36 homes with the potential of 50 homes on the property. So I'm hoping that people will join us. And this painting now depicts my devotion not only to my own, to CLAM, but also to my own home, and this being the place where I live, which also brings to mind a wonderful song that Harmony Grisman wrote called Westmoreland Song, and the refrain in it is, "For here is the home of my heart, a place of magic on an earthquake fault. Seeing this, living this, my heart is filled with song." So that's on a happy note. And it also is a reminder of the privilege that we have in living here and living in this community and living so close to so many national and state parks and county parks and so much wonderful landscape. So moving on to the next piece. And so then this is kind of the humorous side of me. I get really tired of being British and the Anglo part of myself. You know, I'm so British in so many ways. And so I have this longing for Indigenous cultures, and somehow or other I want to be that. But I never can be. And I had this very revealing time a number of years ago when I went down to Chiapas in southern part of Mexico. And I just had my socks knocked off with the culture down there. And I had this longing to be in other cultures. And unfortunately, I haven't been able to really go into any other Indigenous cultures since then. So that one had this profound effect. But I've also been very intrigued by African cultures and Indigenous people in this country and so on and so forth, as we all know. And so somehow or other, I needed to do a collage that indicated that. And this is one collage regarding my yearning to be Indigenous. This, interestingly enough, is collage, and not only that, it has Martha Stewart's crackling paste on it. So that's another one of Tony's little store of goodies. And so I just went wild with crackling paste for the longest time. I mean, I had been wild about roofing compound for a long time, and then I went on to crackling paste. So it was a big graduation from going to the dark to the light. And so if you were to see it in person, you would see that there's a lot of texture and depth in there that doesn't quite reveal itself here. But the crackling paste was, and Martha Stewart, who seems far away from Indigenous cultures. So we'll move on to the next one, which is another Indigenous piece. And I call this, the other one was Totem 1. This is Totem 2. And again, I just went wild with Martha Stewart's crackling paste and also collage and paint. And somehow or other, it felt like portals into another consciousness, into another world, into another, you know, the world of dreams even, and how they reveal more to people from in the indigenous worlds, you know, when you think about Aboriginal paintings, and how we need to pay attention to our dreams. Next one. And so then this again is you know, when it gets to October, November, and because I am so British, I just long for rain by the time October comes. And I feel so, I just feel as if I'm going to break out into this brown earth and tear it apart. And so this is the longing for rain. And this is the first rain. And it feels as if it's far away at this point. And I've never seen my backyard so dry as it is this year. So I'll move on to the next one. Whoops. And so this is more of a sensing painting, and it could be anything, but in fact what it is it has to do with the weather, and it's to do with how our weather and our moods are so intertwined. So mood swings and weather systems and mood swings. We can move on to the next one. And this one is figurative. This was during the last 4 years when there was a lot of devastating things happening in terms of American politics, and it was a combination of my feelings about what was going on in the world, and this is titled Assessing the Odds, and my own aging process and how I wasn't feeling very well. And as a result of that, I mean, I went through this period, which some of them on here know about, where I had very little energy and the signs of terrible fatigue and other things. And then I got a pacemaker. So anyway, assessing the odds, and I went on and got a pacemaker. So moving on to the next one. And then moving into where sort of more where I'm going now is that this one is called Mind Spill. And I get so tired of thinking. And I have a close friend who nicknames me Always Thinking Brayton. And it's really true. And I do think a lot. And so trying to sort of cool my mind and have things depart from my mind was of extreme importance and for my mental health. And so this is Mind Spill. So it's more or less an empty mind. And it was interesting because when Rich saw this, he'd shown it to a friend, and the friend didn't see it as empty mind. She saw it as an eruption of what's going into the mind. And so it sort of did remind me of a quote that Pam Fabry, who's on this call, gave to our Wild Carrots group. And I thought I'd read it now because this is about looking at art and it may help you to interpret some of these pieces that you've seen. And this is a statement from Picasso. A picture is not thought out and settled beforehand. While it is being done, it changes as one's thoughts change. And when it is finished, it still goes on changing, according to the state of mind of whoever is looking at it. A picture lives a life like a living creature, undergoing the changes imposed on us by our life from day to day. And Picasso goes on to say that for viewers of art, the picture and its finished form lives only through the one who is looking at it. So we can move on to the next one. And so this is empty mind, and just go out to the beach, empty your mind. And that's the feel of it. This one has a lot of texture on it, and it's got a lot of handmade paper that actually kind of forms the countenance in front of us, of whom I do not know, but it's kind of a nice feeling just to lift the lid off your head and just let all the thoughts go out into the ocean and up and beyond the horizon. So we can go to the next one. And so then this is more of it. This is a sensing drawing. And this was started with the eyes closed and then filled in a little color with soft pastels. And then I was very happy about this because sometimes when you do the pastels, they just smear all over the place. I don't know how Nancy Stein does it, because I could not stay as neat as she does. And so I successfully sprayed this with some nasty stuff outside, and now it's all sticking together, and I'm very happy about it. So that was a great discovery at Wild Carrots one day, that I could actually fix by pastels. But you have to be careful with that, because it can change the color. And in this case, it didn't really matter, because the most forceful color is black, which is charcoal. And I have no interpretation for this shop, but except I like its shapes, I like its energy, and I like its general countenance. Can move on to the next one. And so this is the last one in this series. And so this is where I'm going. There's no thoughts, just drawing and not thinking. And I have behind me a whole bunch of little ones that you can see sort of on the bottom row of things that I just do, and I don't even think. And that's where I'm going now, is just leaving thinking behind and going more to just letting my whatever comes out come out and be okay. And then it can also be interpreted by others as in whichever way they want to. So that's the last one in that whole series of pieces. But I do want to say something that's very important in terms of, this is a fundraiser for the Dance Palace. And all of these works can be purchased if anybody's interested. But there's another thing I want to do is let you know that I have a rack of paintings behind me, which you can't really see, but there's a rack right here. And I want to offer the full price of these paintings as a benefit for the Dance Palace. And I want to start the prices off at $40 a piece. And if anybody wants to view them, then just email me and you can come by and you can take a look and purchase one. It starts at $45. You can go up to whatever amount you want, but you would come with your checkbook and you'd write out a check to the Dance Palace Community Center. And I'm honoring my dear friend Elizabeth Zarlengo, who's the president of the board, and Bonnie Gutman, who used to work with us at CLAM, and all the other staff, and this incredible LA who has put this whole tech thing together. And I appreciate that very, very much. So let me know if you want to come by and see any of these and buy them, and bring your checkbook. So anything else I should say?
Rich, you are muted in case you want to.
Yeah, first of all, thank you for your generosity of offering up your paintings for the Dance Palace. I mean, it's a really wonderful gift. So thank you for that thought and putting that together. But more importantly, thank you for this journey from Northern England to West Marin and across the White Hill into the valley of West Marin, and your piece that honors homes, your home, Clam's homes, amongst all these others. It's a joy to be able to just feel that energy of yours in so many different ways. And so thanks for sharing that. I'm hoping there might be some other people here who would have comments or questions or want to explore some aspect of one of the paintings, or just the point of view that Susan has with art, and open it up to that. And I'm going to start with one just to get it going. Wonder if you could talk a little bit more about kind of the value, maybe these are my words, but the value of making friends with the unknown that sort of shows up in that sensing process, that sensing art, the not knowing what you're going to create and honoring what shows up.
Right. Well, I think the key is getting into the mindset of no expectations. Um, and there are other people on this call who actually could talk to that, and maybe they want to say something or say something out loud or put it in the chat. Karen Nani Aparna, and I don't know whether Carol's here, but it's just, and also if you like surprises, you can completely surprise yourself, and also give yourself a nice boost to your intelligence when you see what you've produced and how you can interpret it. So it's yeah, and it's an opportunity for deep thinking, and which we don't always give ourselves. And yeah, and if anybody else wants to say anything about that, because I see Connie Mary's on here too, and we used to go to Connie's classes together years and years ago. So if anybody else wants to talk to it, I'd like to hear what anybody else has to say. No?
I do want to share some comments that are here in the chat. Obviously, you know, the space is still open. I just want to make sure that the comments get across. So Elizabeth,
Sure.
thank you, Susan, for the shout out to the Dance Palace and your amazing generosity. Stephanie, Kim, Min, and Jim say very inspiring, Susan, and wonderful pieces. We love hearing the stories behind each of them. And Karen Nani says, wonderful presentation, Susan. Well done. Your art is powerful, just like you. So glad I was able to join in. See you in August for our next art group. And here we have a question from Nan saying, hi, Susan, your work is beautiful and evocative. Thank you. How does size play into your creative process? Do you like to work small or large? Does it matter?
Well, I used to like to work large, but then when you start accumulating all this art and it starts mounting up, large gets sort of in the way in terms of storage and space. So I'm tending now to work smaller, in fact, very small. And because with Wild Carrots, we're meeting on Zoom on Tuesdays, most of us have gone smaller. It's really interesting. And so we show our art every Tuesday to each other when Tony generously arranges our Zoom calls together. So I'm tending to work small now, but I used to work large, but not hugely large, not like some other, and I can't think of any names right now. But anyway, I tend to work small now. And these are small pieces behind me, these funny ones that you can see.
I love it. We're in your gallery.
Right. I made a stage set.
We have a question from Madeline asking, how does the group art propel you to what is inimitably you? I think I can't say it. Sorry, everyone.
Inimitably.
Inimitably, there we go.
How does it propel me into it? Because we do it in quiet and silence, and so especially when we're actually in the Wild Carrot studio, and of course you can do it on your own too at home, is that you just have your own space and you're in your own space for hours and hours, and so what is revealed after that is, you know that it's come from a deep place inside you. And then what we do is we put in Wild Carrots, we put everything up on the wall and have lunch and we talk about our art. And it's important for people to say first what they are revealing and what they see. And then it's just as Picasso said, everybody has a different interpretation. And one person in our group doesn't like to see lifelike images, and other people say, oh, I can see a face there. Oh, is that a tiger? So it's sort of, and then it also brings a different interpretation. It's actually very similar to reading tarot cards. It's like, okay, somebody else is reading my life for me, And they may really hit the nail on the head, and something I hadn't thought about. Yeah. Does that answer the question, Madeline?
LA?
Yes.
Yeah, Carol Griffin had a comment when Susan was talking about anybody who had walked the sensory awareness experience of painting, and we missed her, and I wanted to make sure that we got back to Carol.
Oh, okay.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yeah.
No, can't hear you, Carol.
Okay, here we go. Now you can hear me, right?
I can hear you now, yeah.
Yeah, good. I just wanted to say thank you, Susan. I've done expressive arts and art with Susan for many, many years. And I wanted to just say that seeing some of these images that arise from you specifically, these kind of bird-like images, the West Marin, Tamales Bay hills with the clouds and sky, and then these visceral body but emotional images that come out, to see how they are you and inimitably you, and also how you've shared today this wonderful integration of how they are part of your life and your growth and your humanistic values just come through so strong. So I just wanted to honor you with that.
Yeah. I have something to say. Susan, I somehow it maybe forgotten, whoopsie. I was trying to find you. About that, I forgot about your early art teacher. I remembered it when it came back, but to hear that you were fully embraced for your abstract work at a young age and recognized by the nation of England for it, explains something for me. I'm lucky enough to paint with Susan on Tuesdays, and week after week, the thing that blows my mind about your paintings and is shown in the selection you just showed us here is your boldness. Like you just trust yourself with these big, bold shapes and brush marks, and and I feel like it always works out. It always comes together in this kind of intriguing, out of the box kind of leap through into the present moment. So if you have anything to add to that, I'm giving some congratulations to that part of you that was acknowledged early in your life and is alive and well.
Thank you. And that is a really good entree into something that I meant to say. And that was the name of that teacher was Mrs. Thomas. And I often feel that Toni Littlejohn is a reincarnation of Mrs. Thomas. I mean, they even kind of look alike. I was actually crazy about her, and I'm also crazy about Toni. And so I feel, I don't know whether anybody else experiences this, that I feel I repeat people in my life from my early days. And I think this is one of those occasions where Mrs. Thomas has become Toni. And so and also for us all, whatever is there in the beginning, it is there to the end inside us. And I'm probably not saying this in a very sort of understandable way, but it's all there inside us. We all carry specific shapes. We all carry the colors. We all carry, you saw the elements. You would be surprised at how all of these things come up for us in our lives if we allow that part of ourselves to develop them. So thank you, Nancy, for what you said. Did I answer everything that you said?
Yeah, I just love learning, being reminded of that person.
And then the thing with the Royal Academy was it was just a very nice certificate signed by president of the Royal Academy of Art in London, which was a big deal because London was a long way away at that time. So,
My boy.
yeah.
So,
Yes.
Susan, I'm sorry that I got here late. I struggled in finding the link, and I'll wait.
Okay, you can watch the video because I've certainly talked a lot about wild carrots.
Yes, that just to add on to that, this video will be up on our YouTube channel starting tomorrow. So, you know, if you want to watch it again, if you came in late, it's recorded. So, yes.
So I hope we can save the chats because I haven't been able to look at them. So,
Sorry,
so I'm hoping, can we save the chats because I haven't been able to look at them all.
Yes, I wanted to say that. Thank you everyone for your comments. They will all be shared with Susan. I'm not going to read all of them aloud right now just because there is so much appreciation that I don't know if we'll get to it. But I will be sharing all of this with Susan so that she can see all the kind things that you're saying. And I have kind of an interesting message that I have received from an anonymous admirer of your art that is wanting to bid on your Jackson Pollock painting starting at $500.
That's $3 million.
Wow.
Good. Bid. Yeah, that's not something we have been doing, but you know, an anonymous admirer has messaged us through the chat.
Oh my gosh, I'm very honored and delighted to hear that because I'll have to look and see what kind of condition it's in at this point because it's got quite a lot of materials on it. Yeah.
It's one of the things, I'm sorry that I was late. I didn't find the link until really late. But I just wanted to congratulate you, Susan, on really, your work is so filled with imagination. It always astounds me what you bring up and your willingness to try to use different materials like tar paper and roofing compound and collage, and you know that there's oftentimes set design as if you know we were in a stage play, and then there's the landscapes and the abstract and the sensing into the colors, and it's just remarkable your range and the power of what you create. And it's just such a privilege to see you in all your work right now, immersed in it. It's like, thank you.
Thank you. That's my teacher talking.
We're both blushing.
That's a good note.
And
Yeah.
Elizabeth.
Susan, I just wanted to say thank you so much. I've always loved your art from the very beginning, and it's a beautiful show tonight. And hearing you explain it makes it even more beautiful to me in my mind. But I put this in the chat, but I just wanted to express my deepest appreciation for your generosity tonight to the Dance Palace. So thank you.
I hope it's going to bring in some dough.
Well, it already has. So,
Well,
and
yeah,
thank you to the anonymous donor, whoever
Yeah.
you may be.
whoever that anonymous donor is. I wonder if I'll ever find out.
Mysterious anonymous donor.
Yeah.
So I will be putting Susan's contact here in the chat so that everyone knows how to get into contact with her. In case, I mean, you probably already do, a lot of you, but just in case. And yeah, we're getting to that time. Susan, I don't know if you have some closing words before we pass it over to Rich.
No, I just want to thank everybody for showing up today. I know it's a really beautiful late afternoon here in West Marin, and people are freer than they were. And I appreciate everybody spending time with me this afternoon, and for all the help I got from everybody who's probably on this call in my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Yes,
Thanks.
thank you.
Well, I'd like to,
Yeah.
I'm going to take the mic just for a second. I have watched I think all 10 of the gallery presentations that we've done, and I don't think I've seen as many smiles consistently throughout the whole hour. And I just have a sense of the gratitude that we all have felt for being in your presence as you really shared your artistic heart. So thank you so much.
And thank you, Liz, for being my companion during this whole time.
It was a pleasure. It was, yeah, it was a great time. And I hope there's more of it. You know, I think that sensing experience was phenomenal. I really would like to do more. The next thing is that we all can do more. We can support the Dance Palace. We can also come back here next month when, oh, I'm sorry. We can come back next month when Nancy Stein is here. Nancy Stein, we don't have the date yet for when she's going to do her gallery show, but she will be here. And as Susan said, she's got some amazing control over pastels, and to me has the best waves on the planet. And I get to see some of them. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being a part of this. It really supports the Dance Palace. It supports Susan, and we're happy that you were here. Take it away.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
And before everyone goes, I just wanted to mention that, well, thank you. Thank you, Susan, again, for your generosity, for your openness, your creativity, your storytelling. It's been such an honor to be here with everyone. And yeah, thank you everyone for being here. I've put a lot of links in the chat, but don't worry, you don't need to copy them all down because you will be getting an email from us tomorrow. So no worries. And yeah, you can check out this video starting tomorrow on YouTube. We'll see you next month in August for Nancy Stein's show. And yes, I think that's it. I hope you all have a great evening.
Great.